So I got this random train of thought about RPGs. Some time ago, I started playing again World of Warcraft, and as much as I do not promote playing video games that are addictive and grindy, I would still argue that World of Warcraft, at least classic, up to Wrath of the Lich King, the one that you will see on the screen right now, is still in the form of a old school classical RPG rather than the grindy, handheldy story that is currently the World of Warcraft retail. The issue that I see with modern RPGs is that they stopped actually being RPGs. They are just those weird games where you just put some points in somewhere. You have a already created template on who you should play as. You have a template on how everything should look like. If you watch my videos on my main channel, you should know that I absolutely hate the idea of universal design. I don't think there is some kind of one design choice that always works and any other design choice is wrong. And there's plenty of examples of that in gaming, and the one that is, it's very often mentioned, but rightfully so, is Dark Souls, right? Dark Souls, when it was released at that time, was something completely different. And I think, at least, that was one of many reasons why it became so successful, because it was actually something different and original. It did really well what it was supposed to do. And the problem with MMORPGs and RPGs overall, I'm also talking about tabletop ones, but video games have the same issue, I believe even more so than the tabletop ones, because games like Skyrim kind of corrupted the genre, corrupted in a way that studios are kind of afraid of releasing anything that is not Skyrim-like, so not driven heavily by the main story and handheldy, because Skyrim is very handheldy, like especially if you look at the intro and compare it to other Elder Scrolls games, with the exception of Oblivion, which also is quite hand-handy, at least in the beginning. But in Skyrim is even more so, where you're just forced to go places. Whereas, for example, in Morrowind, you just very quickly you are released, and you do have main quests, but even the main quests tell you, yeah, just do whatever, because you still need to be, you still need to know people around here. You need to get to know the culture. Just go and explore. Just go and find a job, and then when you are fucking competent, you can go back and talk to me. Maybe I will have something for you. Like, the main quest is not some kind of crisis that is, it is world ending. Maybe not world ending, but at least, island ending, like kingdom ending. But it's not something that will happen just tomorrow. Like, it will happen in any moment. It's more of a constant threat that is building, and it was building for a very long time. It's not like when you as a main character came to that island of Vardenfell that, suddenly now everything started to collapse. No, it was something that was happening for quite some time now, and the forces of the Empire are quite desperate. And I'm mentioning Morrowind because Morrowind is a really, really well-made RPG. The issue is that by today's standards, it would be a very, very old and pretty okay RPG if RPGs would, actually go in that direction and try to improve upon things. But the problem is that Morrowind never improved upon. That's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say is that Morrowind it was kind of the first of its kind. It was not the first of its kind, but you know what I mean. It was doing something that was not done before, and the issue is that no other RPGs try to follow that route. Same with New Vegas, with Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas also do not have anything that is just immediate. Like the battle for Hoover Dam will be happening in the very moment. No, it's building tension. Tension is building, and there is a crisis, but it is a crisis that it's basically like a boiling water. In any moment, it can just spill over the kettle, and can cause some devastation around. But it's not immediate, right? You do have some time, but it is happening. And I mentioned at the very beginning World of Warcraft because it was a very new thing. The World of Warcraft retail, the modern World of Warcraft Dragonflight currently, and there will be War Within, I believe will be the next expansion. It added a lot of options. Like, you have a lot of freedom in terms of who you can create. There's so many races you can choose from. There's so many classes. They also unlocked a lot of classes because previously some races couldn't be certain classes. So, for example, the Horde in Classic WoW, at least, the Horde couldn't have a Paladin because a Paladin was strictly for the followers of the light, and specifically for knights of the light. There are priests in the Horde, but you can have holy priests, but you couldn't be a paladin. And the same goes with the Alliance. The Alliance could never be shaman. Like, you can never have an Alliance race that was a shaman, because shaman was a very tribalistic, spiritual thing that was very very into the spirit of the Horde, the other. If you don't know World of Warcraft, you basically have two factions. There are two alliances, but people don't use alliances because one of the alliances is called literally the Alliance, so it will be very confusing. But it's basically the alliance of factions within a said alliance, right? And I would say that Warcraft 3, and especially World of Warcraft Classic, give me a moment. World of Warcraft Classic was very good at portraying the world building for a high fantasy, but medium fantasy, I would say, world. It was really well done, and I believe that those limitations that those factions had, there was not that many races, and those races couldn't just be anyone. Like, they couldn't just be any class. So, for example, if you would play an orc, you couldn't play an orc druid. Like, that was impossible to play an orc druid, because a druid was a very nature-oriented thing, and orcs were never that nature-oriented into Elune and the religion of Elune. They're more intertwined into the shamanistic spiritual thing, so they can be shamans, but they cannot be druids. Same goes with Taurens. Taurens cannot be rogues, which is quite obvious. Like, you are a huge hulking cow with hoofs. Like, you will not be that good at stealth, right? So being a Tauren rogue was not really a thing. And that gave some more flavor to those races. Like, you did feel a bit more unique because of that. All those races had their own unique abilities and passives. So, for example, a troll would regenerate more health during combat. It would have an increased health regeneration, and it would have a berserking special ability. Then the Forsaken, the undead, would have the will of the undead, so they would be immune to fear and charm because they are the undead. So it's pretty difficult to charm an undead or make them be afraid, right? A dwarf could increase its toughness. It can have a stone skin, which is related to the backstory of how dwarf actually exists in World of Warcraft. It's not really explained in the very beginning, but later on it is explained in the story why dwarves can do that. It is all very well intertwined, and the story is not just like follow these people who have voice acting. You needed to actually go anywhere. You need to read the quest. Like, when you actually click on a quest, if someone had a quest, you needed to actually read the quest. Like, even if you didn't want to read the flavor text, which was, which will give you a context for the quest, you had the description of how to do the quests. Also made you more intertwined is a very bad word for that, but it made you more into the quests, because you didn't had quest markers. Like for example, now you can see that when I play Wrath of the Lich King, it does have an add-on called quest marker, quests, whatever. Basically, you can see quest markers, so you don't really need to think much. You just go to the holy quest marker. But then you need to actually read it, and you would be a bit lost, and that's fine. That's like being lost is fine. Being, struggling a bit, being limited, is actually quite nice. It helps you, immerse more into the universe that you're playing, and that's something I feel the modern RPGs are missing a lot, because what makes a hero in a story relatable, right? What makes the hero's journey the hero's journey? The hero needs to suffer, right? That's almost always the main reason why a hero becomes a hero, and he becomes heroic, right? Because he suffers, and he overcomes this suffering through courage and through some kind of self-motivation, and that's what very captivating. And whenever someone's suffering and manage to actually achieve something great, it's always very relatable. It's very nice for us to know something about it, to understand where they're coming from. And I believe that playing RPGs, and that also, I'm also talking about tabletop RPGs. Playing RPGs, I believe you should suffer a bit more, and you should not be constrained by this very weird template. The template of you should always go to a dungeon, the game master will create the story for you, and you need to follow the story, and if you don't follow the main quest, then the game master will be mad at you. Like, I really hate that concept, and that's not how I personally master my own RPG campaigns. And yeah, those are some loose thoughts about it. Yeah, the same goes with storytelling and world building. Back in the day, in classic WoW and in Wrath of the Lich King, like, you needed to actually discover the world. Like, of course, you had like some videos on YouTube started to pop up, but you actually need to go into the world and discover stuff. Like, you would need to read the quest, and based on the quest, you needed to get the context of what was happening. And people who designed the world were incredible. Like, they would, weave things into the world that you could, understand in your specific way. So it made the process of discovery very natural, very organic. Yeah, also, flying mounts was a very big mistake. Actually traveling by foot, using a normal mount was, the best choice, I believe, in the very beginning, because restricting and giving you less tools can sometimes be. I know I can sound pretty contradictory right now, because I do hate the restrictions of storytelling. I like giving people freedom, but freedom with limiting tool set. Yeah, I believe that is what I'm looking for. A lot of freedom with a limited tool set, and not just whatever. Because now, for example, in retail, do you remember when I was talking about classes and races? Now in retail, WoW, like almost anyone can be anyone. Like, you can literally have a Tauren rogue. Like, you can have a sneaky assassin Tauren, like this huge hulking cow, a sneaky assassin. It's ridiculous. Like, it took a lot. It took a lot of soul from the game, because I have a lot more freedom in retail WoW, but I just don't feel it. Like, I don't know. I didn't understand why, but now, after thinking a bit more about it, I can understand now. Yeah, so that's my ramble for today. About the video, it will be released this Friday, I hope. I am working on the script now. I need to give myself a small break, because I'm doing a lot of stuff other than YouTube right now. But yeah, this Friday should be a new video on my main channel. So that's it for today. See ya.